everyone. We are going to be doing our human resources program today. Let's see. Okay, so the first thing it says is to download the file HR system, which you can find, let's see, here under week 6's code along activity under program requirements. So the first thing you'll do is download this, and then it'll probably go to your computer download system, and then you will just move it into your VS Code. I did that here under my week 6 folder. Okay, so oh my goodness, I have a dog who is crying. So I have to pause this recording and figure out what's wrong with the dog, and I will be right back. Okay, sorry about that. Doggies are sufficiently bribed, or at least I hope sufficiently bribed to be quiet for a bit. All right, so we are going to download that file, and we're going to open it, iterate through each line of the file here. I've just copied this from the program instructions, copied and pasted. Then we're going to gather the information from each field and display it in values and print it with this format here. And I went ahead and when I have the print results comment for what we're going to do, I pasted that format down there because we'll have code and I don't want to have to go back and forth like that. Hope that didn't make you too dizzy. Then it says, don't forget to convert the salary to a number and display it with 2 decimals. Okay. And then we'll look at the enhancement after we get the basic stuff up. Okay, so the first thing we are going to do is open up this file. Now, you have learned how to do this. You've already practiced it. It is easier if you use the with open instead of just opening it and then having to remember to close it. But if you prefer that, you're allowed to do that. HR system is our file.txt, and I will do that as HR file. Okay, so I've opened the file, and we are going to want to iterate through it line by line. So now I went ahead and put my comments to the right of the thing, but you don't have to do that. So for line in HR file. And what I'm going to do, I just want to make sure it's actually reading it because you don't want to, the worst thing, well, not the worst thing that could happen to you, but a very sad thing that could happen to you is if you write all that code, then you find out it's not reading the file and you have to figure out why. So let's look. And I've already played with this a little. Okay. Let's see what it does. And look, I got an error right away. I knew I was going to get this error. I did this really actually did this on purpose, believe it or not. It says there's no such file or directory. So I look at the thing I typed, which is hr_system.txt, and I come over here to my files and it's hr_system.txt. So what is the problem? I have it. The problem is I have mine under my week 6 folder. So when you just put the file name, it's looking on the first level of things. And I'm going to close my week 6 folder so you can see this is everything on my first level. So if I open up my week 6 folder, I see that this is on the second level. So what I need to do is add that first level in here. Okay, now I shouldn't have any problems. So this is, if I get an error, I was not expecting it this time. So let's see. Good. That would have been really embarrassing, wouldn't it? Okay, but actually everybody gets errors when you do computer programming. I have another dog who is apparently not sufficiently bribed. That's a problem. Hold on just a second, but I'm going to let him whine for one more minute while I show you something. I noticed as I printed out this line that it has a header. And if I'd looked at the file ahead of time, there's that header right there. So in reality, that could cause problems while we're manipulating data. So what you want to do is tell the computer, hey, could you skip that first line for me? And you do that right immediately after you open the file with the next. We're saying next, and you put the file name in there and saying on this file, just skip the next line. Okay, and I have to pause. I can't believe I'm having to pause so much tonight to get a dog out of the cat. Okay, I'm back again. So hopefully these dogs will cooperate. I don't know if any of you want two Beagle Hounds, but I've got two. I'm about ready to throttle. Not really. I love them too much. But okay, so we got to iterate through line by line. We check that. I'm going to take out this print because we know it's working. And so what we really have to do with it now is assign variables, right? But you will notice that there's spaces here in between each one. So we are going to need to do a split. Well, we have to split it anyway to get them individually. So I am going to call it data equals, and okay, I'm going to make a mistake here just so you can see it. File dot split. Now, this is just split by spaces, so I'm just gonna leave a space there. You've, in one assignment this week, you should have had one split by commas, so you'd put a comma there. But let's look at what happens when I try to print this. Actually, let's assign the data first, because I already know the error that's gonna happen. All right. So the first thing we need is name, because that's the name of the employees. And that is going to be data, which is what I named everything after I split it. So that's where I'm getting this from right here. Data, and it is the first column, which would be a 0 in computer. Then the employee ID, that's what I'll call that one. That's data 2. Then their job title. Oops, employee ID would be data 1. That would have been weird, have the same thing twice. Data 2. Their salary equals data 3. Now, salary is a number, and I know simply because I read ahead on the that we have to treat them as numbers. Well, we knew it from here. We have to display it with 2 decimals, so I know it needs to be numbers. So let's look at what kind of numbers we need. Looks like these are all integers. And I don't think we're doing anything with them that will make them anything but integers, so I'm going to do an int. A float would work too, but you always want to save some to use the least amount of memory that you have to. Okay. Now I'm going to do that print. String. You know what? I need that print on the same level as the others. It's got to be in the for loop. And I've already got one error I'm showing you, so I don't need to show you 2 at once. Okay. We want the name. Then a space and sorry, my keyboard on my computer, I've kind of used it so much that the letters and numbers aren't really there anymore. So I'm always having to remember where things go. I should get a new computer at some point. That would be emp ID. And then after that was comma, space, title, then Instead of a comma, it was a space hyphen, it looks like. And then $sign and salary. Now the salary, they wanted 2 decimal places. So we do the colon and .2f. Okay, do I have that format right? Yes, I do. Okay. All right, now I'm expecting an error here. And I got one. All right. So this is saying an attribute error, IO, which stands for input output, text IO wrapper, object has no attribute split. And that is because here I'm trying to iterate through the line and I'm not splitting the file, I'm splitting the line. And so this needs to be line. Okay. And there we go. Okay. We have Alexia, engineer. Okay. So this was the basic part that you had to do, but there was an enhancement. So look at that with me, please. It said instead of displaying salary information, calculate and display a paycheck amount for the employee. Assume that they are paid twice a month. Then make the program generate bonuses for anyone who is an engineer of at $1,000 to their paycheck amount. So the first thing we need to do is let's do the enhancement down here. So I've got all the information. So I need to go through and change their pay amount. I'm going to make their paycheck instead of their salary. So I'll say paycheck equals, and if they're paid twice a month, that would be 24 paychecks, right? So salary divided by 24. All right, so let us, I should probably put, even though I knew what I was doing, other people might come behind to look at my code later. And so you should always put comments so they know what you did. Divide the salary into bi-monthly paychecks. Okay. And then we want to give a bonus to those engineers. Give engineers a thousand, I'm just gonna say a bonus. They'll see how much it is. Okay. So now, um, if title, their job title is compared to engineer, then we are going to increase their paycheck by 1,000. Okay, now it's possible engineer is spelled, yeah, see here, engineer is spelled as capitalized, but you can never depend on the data entry people to consistently put the data in the same way every time. And sometimes, you have someone else coming in. One person was doing engineer with capital E, another person was doing engineer with a lowercase e, maybe another data entry is doing all caps. And so why don't we do what we did like with our adventure game and do a dot lower for our title so we have no trouble with that. Okay, and so now we're going to reprint this result. So I'm going to copy and paste, print updated results. But this is no longer called salary because we're changed it to paycheck. Okay. And let me clear this. All right. All right, let me look at the first one. Okay, let's see. Oh, I know. I was like, why is it have the old one and then the new one? So it's because I still have this print out. So let's try that again. That's why it printed both. Okay. Alexia 4500, and it's always a good idea to go back and do check with the A400 was the other one. Okay, after the enhancement, yep, 4500. Okay, so we are good. I hope that made sense to everyone. You know, you can reach out to me on the troubleshooting channel or message me, and I am happy to help. Also, remember there is tutoring, both private and group tutoring. If you go to your modules section of the class at the very top of all the modules is the links to those. And we have like 1 week left. So if you have old assignments, get them in. Don't put that off because even though there's a lot of grace period in the assignments, when it comes to that last week, we can't extend deadlines. So um, take care of that right away and reach out for help early. I hope you guys have a fantastic week.